Okay, so students, today we are going to start with our chapter 4 already. Okay, and before we start our chapter 4, right? I attached a file on Blackboard, right? So please download the file, and then we'll go through with this file first because it is actually involves some important uh, formulas that we are going to use it very often in this chapter. Okay, so I will go through it very fast first, and then at least you know what are the formula that is important in this chapter here. Okay, so let us start. All right, so first, because this chapter is talking about the circular measure, so of course you need to know how to sketch a circle and label all the things. Okay, okay, so usually for a circle you have a center, right? Okay, so the center means the center of the circle, and after that, first you need to know what is circumference. So circumference means this one, circumference. Sometimes if let's say you want to say that it is the perimeter of the circle also can, all right? Okay, then after that, what is radius? So radius means that a line that start from center and go to any point on the circumference we call as radius. Okay, and then how about diameter? So diameter means that a line that pass through the center go to the other end of the circumference, so we call as diameter. All these are very basic, so it is just a very simple introduction, okay, or some simple revision about the definition of a circle. All right, so generally you should know that the diameter is actually equals to 2 times of radius. All right, okay, then next one, we talk about chord. So chord means that also it is from one point to the other point on the circumference and you join them together, so we call this as chord. So the chord is like something like a smaller diameter. Actually, diameter is also from one point to the other point on the circumference, right? All right, but it is passed through the center. That's why it calls diameter. And then for the chord means that it is also 2 points. Both are also on the circumference. Okay, but the line, right, when you join it, they didn't pass through the center, so we call it a chord. Okay, and then how about an arc? So an arc means that if you are having 2 radius, okay, and then the curve here, this curve itself we call as an arc. Okay, the curve covered by 2 radius on the circle, so we call as an arc. All right, and the whole area, okay, covered by the both radius and also the arc, we call as sector. So I think this one you should know about it lah. All right, sector. And the last one we talk about segment. So segment means that the area covered by the chord and also the circumference. So we call this part as segment. Okay, so actually on the other side here, we also call this whole part as a segment. But if let's say you want to represent it, right, so we can call this one as a major segment. Then this one, the small one, is a minor segment if you want to look at it. All right, a segment doesn't mean it's always a small area, you call it a segment. The big area also is a segment. But if you want to differentiate it, then generally you know that it should be a major segment or minor segment. Okay, same thing happens for the sector also. So the shaded area here is a small sector, right? So it calls minor sector. If let's say you are referring to the whole area, besides this one, it is also a sector, but we call it as a major sector, right? Okay, so all these are some very basic idea, basic definition on about the circle, all right? Okay, so next. Okay, when you try to answer the question from this part, right? Sometimes, or maybe when they ask you to find out the exact value or whatsoever, there are 2 important triangles that you have to always remember. Okay, especially if the question wants you to put your answer in exact value. Okay, if let's say they want you to have your answer in exact value, then most of the time, if you're not using the ES calculator, then generally you need to draw the triangle to help you. So there are 2 triangles which is very important. We'll learn these 2 triangles again in the next chapter, which is trigo. Okay, and especially for those who are not having the ES calculator, then these 2 triangles is super important. Super important, right? Okay, so let's start. Generally, we need to draw 2 right angle triangle. Okay, so I will assume that one of the angle is 30 degree, another angle is 60 degree. Okay, because the 30 and 60 degree will give you some important values that we are going to use it very often. Okay, so usually to start to draw this figure, right, I will memorize one result in my mind. Usually I will remember that, okay, sine 30 is equals to 1 over 2. I also remember this result. So sine 30 equals to 1 over 2 means that opposite is a 1, 2 is the hypotenuse. Alright, and therefore if you apply the Pythagoras theorem, then this is actually square root 3. Okay, so this particular triangle is very important because from this triangle you will also know what's the value for cos 30. So cos 30 will be square root 3 over 2. What's the value for cos 60? Square root 3 over 2. So what is the, 1 over 2. What's the value for sine 60? Square root 3 over 2. So this triangle itself is quite useful, especially when they want you to keep your answer in exact value. So this is the first one. And the second one is this. Again, you still draw a right angle triangle. So now I will assume that both are 45 degree. Okay, so what is the result that I memorized to help me to sketch this graph? So I will remember that tangent 45 is equals to 1. So tangent 45 equals to 1 means that this is 1, this is also 1. Therefore, by applying the Pythagoras theorem, you will know that this is square root 2. Okay, so these two triangles generally will be very useful and very important for those who are using MS calculator. Alright, you no need to purposely go and change ES calculator. Alright, I think MS calculator is good enough. At least you learn more things. You understand the triangle and everything. Okay. Alright, so these two triangles is very important because we are going to use it very often also in solving the partial question. Okay, then next. Okay, so besides all the information above, the cosine rule and also the sine rule are very important. Okay, so what is the cosine rule and what is the sine rule about? So generally, we are having a triangle, simple triangle. Any kind of triangle will do. And then usually we'll label it as maybe A. If let's say I'm having angle A in capital letter, then the opposite length, okay, of the angle A, we'll label it as small a. Okay, I think you learned this before, so I'm just that I'm afraid that you forget, so I just do a quick revision on this. Okay, then now, if let's say I label this angle as B, so the length opposite, okay, the angle will be the B. Okay, but I label it as small letter so that you know the difference. Okay, so how about for this one? So for this one again, capital letter C, and the length opposite will be small letter c. So this is a triangle. And then from this triangle, you actually have two important formula that you need to remember or you need to know how to use it. The first one is sine rule. Okay, so sine rule means what? Sine rule means that the ratio of the sine angle, okay, to the length opposite the angle should be always the same in the triangle. So as an example, if let's say I'm having C, small letter c is the length here, right? If you divided it by sine C, this answer will be same as you use small letter b divided by sine B. Okay, or if you don't like the C and also the B, then you can also equate it as what? A over sine A. So like this is the length, right? I make it as a main object here. So I'm having C squared. Okay, so generally the pattern will be something like this. They actually derive a very useful formula, which is C squared. If I make it as a main object, all right, then the length, the formula should be equals to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos C. Wait. So that's why you can see that this is the cosine rule actually. Okay, so besides you use the C square as the main object, main subject or main object, okay, you can also use A as the main object. So you can write as A square. So what is the formula you might have? You can actually have a guess. What do you get? What kind of formula that do you get? So if we are using A square as the main part here, then on the right hand side you might have B square plus C square minus 2BC cos A. Okay, then of course the last formula that you can create is this one. How about if you have a B square here? So in B square, then you will have A square plus C square minus 2AC cos B. So these are the sine rules and also the cosine rules that you need to know because we are going to use it in circular measure question also very often. Okay. All right. Then next one. So once we know all the formula already, then we can learn again to recall back how to apply the sine and also the cosine rule. Okay, so I simply take this out from some other textbook or some other books. Okay, so it is not the exam A-level exam style question, so no need to bother about it. But what you need to do is like just make sure that you know how to do, because I want you to make sure that you know how to apply the cosine and also the sine rule. Okay, all right. So they give you a triangle here, and then they tell you that AC is 19, BC is 17, and also the angle BAC is 60. So what they want you to find? They want to find the angle of ABC. So where's the angle of ABC? ABC. So the angle, it means this one. Okay, you can label it as theta if you want. Okay, so you will see that, okay, I'm having a pair of length and also the angle. And to find out the theta that I want, I have another length opposite. Okay, so you will see that you are having two pairs of value which is opposite each other for the angle and also the length. Therefore, you should know that you should apply the sine rule. Okay, so how to apply the sine rule? Okay, so again, I'm having theta, sine theta if you wanna. So usually for me, I don't use the sine one, I will use the length first. Okay, so I'm having 19 over sine theta equals to 17 over sine 60. Okay, then after that, you can get the value for sine theta first. So sine theta is 19 minus sine 60 divided by 17. Okay, so you will get the value for 19 multiplied with sine 19 multiplied with sine 60. Okay, and then divided by 17. Okay, so what do I get here? I'll get 0. A very long value. So 0.9679107454. So when you want to get the theta, right, have to take sine inverse. So sine inverse 0.9679107454. So I will keep it as long as possible when I press the calculator. So if you're lazy to write out so long, you can just write as 968. Alright, but when you press calculator, you have to press the long value here. Okay, so after that, to get the theta, you have sine inverse under. Okay, and therefore what you get is like 75.4 degree. Okay, so one decimal place for angle in degree. Okay, if you refer back to the instruction on the first page of the past paper, generally they also mentioned it. Alright, so all your long answers should keep it in 3 significant figures besides the angle in degree. So the angle in degree, you have to keep it in 1 decimal place. Alright, so this is what we have, 75.4, and this is how we apply the sine rule. Okay, of course in A-level exam, they won't purposely give you this kind of question, but sometimes you actually need to apply, you need to know how to apply the sine rule correctly. Okay, so this is just a equation or maybe an example to show you how to use it. Okay, so if we proceed further, okay, so they give you another triangle, they give you the length for PR, they give you the length for PQ, and also the angle for the 8. Okay, so you see that when they give you the angle for the 8 and also 2 length, what they want you to find? They want you to find out the value of QR. What's the length here? Okay, so if let's say you want to get the length, so maybe for me I will label it as A, let's say. Okay, so you see I have the length for 3 sides and also the angle here. Therefore, the more suitable formula for me to use it is cos. If you want to use sine, cannot. Why? Because okay, you have one pair degree and also the value of the length, but you don't have another degree for you to form the sine rule. So therefore, you cannot get the sine rule here. You cannot use the sine rule here. So you have to use the cosine rule. Okay, so when you want to use the cosine rule, what can you do here is, okay, again, you made the A as the main object. So A square is equals to 22 square plus 23 square minus 2 BC sine, cos rho, so cos 48. Okay, so very easily you can get an answer from here already. Alright, so you can straight away press the calculator, then square root answer, and you have 18.3. Okay, so this is how I apply the cosine rule. Alright. Okay, so how about the last one? Okay, so for the last one, they want you to find the area of triangle ABC. Okay, so to find the area for triangle, because this is not a right angle triangle, right? So how can you actually find the area? Okay, so just for your information, we actually have the answer, the formula for area of a triangle, which is half AB sine C. Okay, so if you assume that the length opposite the angle A is A, if you assume that the length opposite the angle B is B, so opposite the angle C is small letter C lah. So this is the capital letter C. Okay, so again, if you want to calculate the area formula, you need the value for C. But not too bad you don't have, right? Okay, so how can I get the value of C then? So again, please apply the cosine rule by using the length opposite the angle that you want to find as the object. So the main object. So C squared is equals to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cos C. Okay, so now what is the value of the small letter C? 11 squared. Okay, small letter A is 9 squared. Small letter B is 10 squared minus 2, 9, 10, and cos C. Okay, so again, you try to complete it slowly. 9 squared plus 10 squared minus 11 squared. Okay, and then divided by 2 times 9 times 10. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, or if I didn't do any careless mistake, you have, not cos theta, it should be cos C. Okay, which is equals to 1 over 3. So to get the value of C is cos inverse answer. Okay, so the cos inverse answer should be 70.5. Okay, but in my opinion, actually you need to purposely go and find the C one. So you just get the value for cos C equals to 1 over 3. And then after that, you can try to draw a triangle based on the value of C. Okay, so C, cos C is 1 over 3. That means this is 1. This is 3. Okay, so by using the hypotenuse Pythagoras theorem, what is the length here that you will get? So it should be 3 square minus 1 square square root. So you should have square root 8 as your answer here. Okay, alright. Then after that, now you are going to apply everything here into your area equation. So area equation is half AB. Now I want to get a value for sine C. So you can look from the triangle. What is the value for sine C? It should be square root 8 over 2. Square root 8 over 3. Okay. So this is what we have. And after that, if you want to simplify your answer, wait, why this one looks very weird? Okay, then divided by, okay, so you have 15 times square root 8, and then further simplify, you have 30 square root 2, or you can change it become decimal place. So if you want to change it become decimal place, it will be 42.4 into 3 significant figure. Okay, so I double check again my answer. Yeah, okay, it's correct. Okay or not? So this is another important formula I forget to include just now, but this is a formula to find the area for a triangle. Okay, if let's say in this part they are talking about find the exact area, then the only possible answer that you should write is 30 square root 2. Okay, but if they didn't mention this word, generally you can keep it in the short form, or if you want, you can change it to become the decimal number, also no problem. But just make sure that if you are going to write in decimal number, your accuracy should be for 3 significant figure. Okay. Alright, so this is the first file that there are some very basic idea on how to apply the cosine rule, sine rule, and so on. Because later when you go into the exam style question for chapter 4, you need to apply all this straight away. So I hope that you roughly have the idea how to apply it first. Okay, so this is what we have for this video. So next video we are going to start with our chapter 4 straight away. Right.